This is The Bottom Line. The Bottom Line on 938 Live.
Some parts of Asia's manufacturing sector are struggling to gain traction. The private sector Purchasing Managers Index PMI for China and Japan pointed to a contraction in April, while South Korea and Taiwan saw a slowdown in their expansion. But in Singapore, PMI grew to 51.1 and remained on expansionary territory. Today, our Justine Moss spoke with Song Seng Wun, regional economist at CIMB Research, to get his analysis on the regional economies. She began by asking Seng Wun the reason behind the sharp disparity as well as accuracy between China's official PMI and the private sector PMI.
Well, we actually use both series to gauge China's manufacturing sector activities. The official survey covers the large state-owned enterprises where obviously they have better access to funding, while the other PMI covers the smaller private enterprises, and obviously they had been more affected by the tighter credit conditions. So they're still measuring the same area, but different parts.
Okay. Well, so, I mean, export-reliant economies like, say, South Korea and Taiwan, they saw their PMI expand at a slower rate. So what does it say about the state of global demand then?
Well, actually, we've got a mixed bag of PMI reading around the world, with the global manufacturing PMI actually also dipping second month of, month-to-month decline, indicating a softer start to second quarter manufacturing. On the hopeful side, we are still seeing readings of more than 50 indicating expansion. And indeed, if the latest export data from Korea for the month of April, which exceeded expectation, is anything to go by, we're keeping our fingers crossed. Now, all eye on China's export data, which will be due out on Thursday. So it could still be a bumpy ride as far as global demand is concerned.
Yeah, as you say, it's a mixed bag. And I mean, turning to Indonesia, of course, a bit closer to home here, the country's PMI hit an 11-month high in April, while its first quarter GDP grew by 5.2%. What's your outlook for Southeast Asia's largest economy?
We, like other analysts, were also expecting stronger 1Q performance of about 5.5%. Hopefully, the latest PMI numbers that you mentioned supports a better export performance in second quarter, because the key reason for the weaker than expected 1Q GDP was exports, while domestic demand, thanks in part to the pre-election spending, did held up. But nonetheless, due to the slower start to the Indonesian economy, we are nonetheless lowering our GDP forecast for Indonesia to about 5.5% from our previous estimate of closer to 6%. So there is still some risk to the Indonesian economy if export doesn't pick up pace.
So, Seng Wun, do you expect Asian economies that rely on domestic growth to fare better than export-dependent countries?
Well, not all of them. While we are expecting improving demand from Europe and US to anchor stronger Asian export in the coming months, there will be exception. The domestic demand condition in Korea may only recover late in second quarter after the Korean got over the shock of the tragic ferry sinking. Japan domestic demand will be pulled down by the April's heightened consumption, and here within ASEAN economies, Thailand growth may slip further because of political uncertainties.
Well, finally, Seng Wun, back home here, Singapore's final first quarter GDP will be due later this month. Can we expect any changes there?
We hope so. Hopefully an outward adjustment in the first revision for the first quarter, looking for a quarter-on-quarter growth of almost 1.8% annual rate from the previous estimate of just 0.1. Year-on-year, hopefully we are hopeful of a 5.5% year-on-year growth from the previous estimate of 5.1%, basically on stronger performance of the goods producing sector itself.
That was Song Seng Wun, regional economist at CIMB Research on The Bottom Line.